Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today.
A little bit.
Usually we're looking at, tech trends or historical events, maybe some complex scientific breakthroughs. But today we're looking inward. We are tackling the monster in the closet.
One that I think lives in every single creative person's head.
Exactly. The blank page, writer's block. And I want to be clear right off the bat, this isn't just for, the novelists out there.
No, not at all.
This is for anyone who has ever stared at a blinking cursor in a Google Doc trying to write a difficult email, a report, a script, anything, and just felt that physical resistance, that feeling like your brain has just turned into concrete.
It's a completely universal struggle, but what's so interesting about the research we're pulling from today, specifically from the work of Diane Callahan, the quotidian writer, is that it stops treating writer's block as this vague, mystical curse.
Right.
It treats it as a diagnosable condition.
Okay, and if it's a condition, that means there are cures. We've got a stack of research here that outlines, 17 specific antidotes?
17.
And these aren't the fluff you usually get, like just take a nap or drink more water. These are structural, psychological, and physical interventions. It's a toolkit.
It is. A very practical, but, and this is maybe the most important part, before we can even open the toolkit, the source material makes a really, really crucial.
Which is?
You can't just throw a random cure at the problem. You have to understand what kind of block you're actually dealing with.
Diagnosis before prescription.
Exactly.
Because I assume treating a lack of ideas is, it's got to be very different from treating a lack of motivation, right?
It is. If you have a headache, you don't put a cast on your leg.
Sure.
The source identifies 3 distinct flavors of writer's block. And I think this is where most of us go wrong. We just treat all blocks the same.
Okay, so let's break these down then. What's flavor number 1?
Flavor number 1 is perfection paralysis.
Oh, I know this one.
This is the big one. This is your inner critic on steroid. It's that crippling fear that the sentence you are about to write is it's going to be garbage.
Or the opposite, almost.
How do you mean?
Like, you have this pristine, perfect idea in your head, and it looks like a movie, and, you just know. The second you try to put it into words, you're going to ruin it.
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. You're afraid of tarnishing the beautiful idea.
It's that gap between taste and ability, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what good writing looks like, and you're just terrified you can't do it, so you do nothing.
Precisely. You freeze. So that's flavor 1, fear. The second flavor is totally different. It's called foggy vision.
Foggy vision. That sounds less emotional and more logistical.
It is. It's a structural problem. You aren't scared. You're just lost. You've got your character in a room. You know where they need to end up in 3 chapters, but the bridge is it's missing.
You don't know what happens next?
You literally do not know what the character does next. The analogy in the source is like driving in a really heavy fog. You can only see 5 feet in front of the car, so eventually you just pull over. You stop driving because you don't want to drive off a cliff.
Right, you're just stuck on the side of the road. Okay, so we have fear, which is perfection paralysis, and we have confusion, which is foggy vision. What is the third flavor?
The third one is boredom.
Boredom sounds almost harmless compared to the other 2, but I have a feeling it's maybe the most dangerous.
It's the silent killer of long projects. 100%. You loved the idea 3 months ago. It was shiny and new and exciting.
Of course.
But now you're in the middle of the draft, that famous saggy middle, and sitting down to write just feels like doing your tack. The spark is gone. It has become a chore.
I relate to that one the most. I really do. When a magic just turns into a grind.
It's so difficult. But here's the good news. Once you identify which one you have, is it fear, is it confusion, or is it boredom, you can select the right cure from this list we're about to go through.
A targeted approach.
Exactly. If you're bored, you need a jolt. If you're lost, you need a map. And if you're scared, you need reassurance.
Okay, so I want you, the listener, to keep those 3 categories in mind. Ask yourself, right, which one are you? Got it. Okay, let's open the toolkit. Section 1 involves what the source calls the input.
Right, and this is all based on a very simple idea. Consumption as fuel.
Yeah.
If the car won't start, maybe the tank is just empty.
And cure number 1 seems almost too obvious to mention, but stick with us here because the nuance is actually fast. Cure number 1 is read other people's stuff.
Groundbreaking, right.
Mind-blowing. Writers should read.
But the source breaks this down into 2 very, very different strategies. There's the high bar approach, and then there's the low bar approach.
Okay, let's talk about the high bar first.
Yeah.
This is what we usually do, I think. We go grab, The Great Gatsby or Lord of the Rings or whatever we consider the pinnacle of the genre.
Right, you go back to your childhood favorite or the absolute masters of the craft. You're looking for that sense of awe awe. You want to be reminded of why you fell in love with storytelling in the first.
You're trying to catch the inspiration again.
You are. You're trying to catch the infection. You read a beautiful sentence and you think, I want to do that.
But there is a huge danger there, isn't there? I mean, if I'm suffering from perfection paralysis and I go read Tolkien, I'm going to want to burn my laptop.
That's the risk.
I'm just going to feel so small and inadequate.
Precisely. Comparison is the thief of joy. If you are already feeling insecure, reading a masterpiece might just confirm your deepest fear, which is that you're a hack. And that is where the low bar approach comes. And I have to say, I absolutely love the psychology.
This is the guilty pleasure strategy. Is that fair to say?
It is. The source suggests you go find a book that is, let's say,
okay,
cookie cutter, a big cliche. Maybe something that's selling really well but isn't winning any literary awards.
Something you might even consider bad.
You might. And you're not hate reading. That's important. It's not a cynical exercise.
Okay, so what's the goal then?
You're doing it for the ego boost and for the permission it gives. You read it and you realize, hey, this got published. People are enjoying this. The bar isn't actually impossibly high. I can do this. It demystifies the whole process. It reminds you that a book doesn't have to be perfect to be a book. It just has to be finished.
Okay, that makes sense. And I feel like this is a huge but. You can't just lay on the couch and passively consume this stuff.
I'm not.
Because if you do that, you're just procrastinating.
You are. You have to engage in what the source calls active reading.
Walk us through that. What does active reading actually look like? No highlighters?
You should be. You need to be a mechanic looking under the hood of the car. If you're reading that low bar book and a scene feels clunky or the dialogue is bad, don't just skip it. Stop. Ask yourself, why is this bad?
So analyze.
Is the dialogue too on the nose? Is the description repetitive? How would I fix it? You're basically rewriting it in your head.
You're turning it into a study session.
Exactly. The source suggests highlighting quotes, taking pictures of paragraphs, writing a little review just for yourself. If it's nonfiction, list the facts you learned and muse on the questions it raises. You are actively mining the text for raw materials.
So you're not a reader anymore, you're a student.
You're a scavenger.
I like that. Okay, that leads us perfectly into cure number 2, a bit more, I don't know, narcissistic. But maybe in a necessary way. Cure number 2, read your own stuff.
This is surprisingly effective, especially for perfection paralysis. You go back to an early chapter of your current project, or maybe a short story you wrote years ago that you're actually proud of.
The source actually calls this falling in love with yourself.
It does. And we need that sometime. When you're stuck, you have convinced yourself that you are incapable of stringing 2 words together. You feel like a complete fraud. Reading your own successful past work is proof of concept. It reminds your present self that your past self was capable, so that ability must still be in there somewhere.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
What if, and this is, you go back to read your old stuff and it sucks. What if past was actually a terrible writer? That seems like it would just spiral you right in.
That is a very, very real risk. And let's be honest, past me was often terrible. But the source has a pivot for exactly that scenario. If the old work is bad, you don't despair. You use it as a revision exercise.
How so?
You take that bad draft, save a new copy, and you rewrite it. Or you just make detailed notes on how you would fix it now, because you can see why it's bad. That proves you've improved as a writer.
Oh, that's a great reframe.
You have better taste now than you did then. So it's proof of growth.
So either way, you win. If it's good, you gain confidence. If it's bad, you get a warm-up exercise and you get proof of your own progress.
Exactly. And the rule is, once you have that little spark of momentum, whether it's from pride or from editing, you use it to write just one new paragraph.
Just one.
Just one. Don't try to write a whole chapter. Just one paragraph. The bar is low.
Okay, moving on to cure number 3 in this input category. Imitate your heroes. No, wait a minute. We just said don't compare yourself to Tolkien, and now we're saying copy Tolkien.
I see the contradiction.
Are we advocating for plagiarism here?
No, absolutely not. We're advocating strictly for an exercise. Think of it like a musician learning to play a guitar solo by a master. You aren't going to record it and release it as your own song on Spotify.
Right.
But you learn the technique, the finger placements, the rhythm by physically doing it.
So this is about muscle memory for writing.
It's about cadence. It's about rhythm. Let's say you are struggling with an action scene. It feels slow. It feels clunky. You should find an author who writes amazing, fast-paced action. Lee Child, maybe?
Okay, real pro.
You find a scene that has the pacing you want. You analyze how they structure it. Do they use short sentences? Do they remove all the adjectives? Then you try to write your scene, your characters, your plot, but wearing their style.
Source says wear their style like a well-fitted jacket.
It's a temporary measure. It's not your jacket. You're just borrowing it. It helps you get the rhythm right. You can always go back and rewrite it in your own voice later, but sometimes you just need to borrow someone else's confidence and cadence to break through that wall.
It's like training wheels for tone.
Perfectly put. That's exactly what it is.
And finally, for this section, we're skipping ahead in the numbering just to match the theme here. Cure number 17 is simply this.
This, meaning consuming advice about writing.
Right. Listening to a deep dive like this one, reading blogs, watching YouTube essays on story structure, all that stuff.
It's a medicure, really.
Wow.
And sometimes just hearing others talk about the craft, it validates your struggle. It makes you feel like you're part of a community. You're not alone in this.
The source mentions some specific resources. Writing Tools by Roy Peter Clark, or the Writing Excuses podcast, Fiction University blog by Janice Hardy.
All great stuff.
But I feel like there is a massive warning label attached to this.
Oh, absolutely. This is the productive procrastination trap. It's a huge one.
Because you can feel very, very productive listening to us talk about writing for an hour. But if you haven't written a single word yourself, you haven't actually cured the block.
You've just sedated it for a while.
So how do we avoid?
You have to be targeted.
Yeah.
You can't just consume aimlessly. If your characters feel flat, you search specifically for how to write three-dimensional characters. You watch one video, you take notes, and then you immediately go apply it to your work.
One in, one out.
Basically, don't fall down the rabbit hole. Use it as a surgical tool, not a bubble bath.
Okay, so input cures are about filling the tank. But what if the tank is full and you just can't see where you're going? That brings us to section 2, breaking the linear chain. This is specifically for the foggy vision people.
This is where we have to challenge the deeply ingrained assumption that you have to write a story from page 1 to page 300 in that exact order.
Which brings us here number 4, right?
This is my personal favorite. I really think this is one of the most effective ones because it acknowledges how the human brain actually works.
How so?
Our brains do not think chronologically. We think in flashes. We think in associations and memories and future worries all at once. So why on earth should we force ourselves to write chronologically?
The source calls this the jigsaw puzzle.
Exactly. If you are stuck on chapter 3, but you have this really cool, vivid idea for a dialogue in chapter 10, for God's sake, skip chapter 3. Go write the scene from chapter 10.
The source uses the phrase barf out the juicy bit.
It's a bit gross, but it's so accurate.
It's vivid.
It's liberating. You capture the energy where it exists. If you're excited about the ending, go write the ending. If you have a great idea for a fight scene in the middle, write that.
But doesn't that just create a huge mess? Now you have all these floating islands of scenes with nothing connected.
It does, but that's a good problem to have. Because now you aren't staring at a blank page anymore. You're just building bridges between islands.
That sounds less intimidating.
It's much easier to write the connective tissue when you know exactly where you are connecting to. You have a destination.
There's a great quote here from Jodi Picoult that I think sums this up perfect. You can always edit a bad, can't edit a...
That is the golden rule of writing right there.
Oh.
Even if that scene you wrote out of order gets cut later in editing, the kernel of the idea, the emotional core of it, might be recycled. Nothing is ever truly wasted.
Now, connected to this nonlinear approach is cure number 6, summarize. This addresses what the source calls the hamster on a wheel effect.
Oh, we've all been there. You're in the shower or you're driving and you're thinking about your story. But what you're really doing is spinning the same 3 thoughts over and over again.
He needs to get the sword. But how does he get the sword? Maybe he steals it. No, that doesn't work.
And you do this for days. You feel like you're working, but nothing has actually changed. Your tires are just spinning in the mud.
Because the thoughts stay abstract.
They're vapor. The cure is to solidify them. You need to write a summary. But, and this is the key, not a boring high-level summary like a book report. You need to write a play-by-play.
Like a sports commentator describing the action.
Exactly like that. Or like you're describing a movie scene to a friend who can't see the screen. Okay, so he walks into the room, he looks angry, he picks up the glass from the table, then he throws it against the far wall. She flinches.
So you are stripping away all the pressure of writing good prose. You're not worried about metaphors or fancy sentence structure.
None of that. You are just listing actions and emotions. And the magic is, the act of writing this out, of forcing your brain to connect the dots linearly, makes you fill in the gap. You'll find yourself adding little details that just didn't exist when it was all floating around in your head.
And once you have that detailed summary, that play-by-play,
the actual writing of the scene is just translation. You're translating the summary into dialogue and prose. The heavy lifting, the structural work is already done.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Moving on to cure number 9, get organized. Now, honestly, this sounds like a classic procrastination technique to me. Oh, I can't possibly write today until I organize all my research folders.
And it can be a trap, for sure. But it can also be a really powerful tool for foggy vision. If you are feeling overwhelmed by possibilities or you have too many plot threads to keep track of, your brain just freezes. Organizing is a way of decluttering that mental workspace.
The source mentions using tools like OneNote or Scrivener.
Right. Creating compartments, a folder for your character bios, a folder for your world building notes, a folder for your timeline. But here is the sneaky benefit the source mentions, and I think this is brilliant.
Go on.
Often, while you're busy organizing your notes, just copying and pasting things into the right folders,
yeah,
you will accidentally start writing.
Accidentally start writing. I like the sound of that.
You'll be typing up a character bot just to get your thoughts in order, and suddenly a line of their dialogue just pops into your head and you write it down.
Because you've lowered the pressure.
Exactly. You're telling your brain, we aren't writing, we're not doing the hard thing, we were just organizing, and so creativity sneaks back in through the side door when the guards are down.
It's like tricking a child into eating vegetables. I'm just chopping carrots. Oh, you want one?
It's the exact same principle.
So we've got input cures for and we've got structural hacks for when we're lost. Let's get to section. The source calls these cures the jolt. This is for when you are bored or you're just stuck in a rut. You need to shock.
These are the defibrillator paddles for your clear.
Cure number 5, make a list. But not just any list, a very specific kind of.
Right. This is for when the pacing drags or you genuinely don't know what happens next. You ask yourself a question, like, why does my character enter the tournament? You set a timer for 20 minutes and you force yourself to list 10 possible answers.
Why 10? Why not just the first good one you think of?
Because the first 3 are always cliches. They are the obvious path. He enters for money, he enters for glory, he enters for revenge. Those are the answers everyone expects. Your brain serves them up on a platter.
But you have to push past those. You have to get to 10.
And that is where the magic happens. By answer number 7 or 8, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Your brain is getting desperate, and that desperation is where you find the gold. The rule is you have to include the stupid idea. You have to include the out there ideas.
The source gives some pretty wild examples for this. The sweet mother accidentally kills your daughter, or the main character cuts off his own finger on purpose.
Right. And even if you don't use those exact ideas, they break your brain out of its logical, predictable path. They force you to consider the extreme. You want to find the one answer on that list of 10 that intrigues you as the writer.
The one that makes you lean forward a bit.
Yes, because if you are surprised, the reader will be surprised.
Which leads us directly to cure number 7, surprise yourself. This is specifically the cure for boredom. If you're bored writing it, the reader will definitely.
100%, it's a guarantee. So you need to drop a bomb on your own story.
Okay, give me some examples. How do we drop this bomb? What does that look like?
It can be a character revelation. You suddenly decide on a secret you didn't even know the character had. Maybe the devoutly religious figure in your story is revealed to be a former atheist. Maybe a character has been harboring a secret crush on someone totally inappropriate.
Or you can just change the dynamics of a single scene.
Yes. If a dialogue between 2 characters is boring and stagnating, add a 3rd character. The source suggests if 2 lovers are trying to have a serious conversation, have a nosy neighbor interrupt them.
Suddenly you have conflict, you have humor, you have subtext.
Instant. Or change the setting. The source has a hilarious example. Instead of a romantic bedroom scene, try to have the characters attempt to have smexy times in a cemetery and have it go terribly wrong.
It creates texture, it creates obstacles and conflict out of nowhere.
It does. Or, on a larger scale, you could introduce a community-wide event, a sudden death, a weird festival, a natural disaster, something that shakes everyone up and forces them to react. The goal is to make yourself eager to find out what happens next.
And if none of that works, if you truly just cannot look at this project for one more second,
then you apply cure number 13, start a new project.
Is that allowed? I mean, isn't that just giving up? It feels like...
It's not giving up, it's a strategic pivot. Sometimes a project is just burned out. The creative well for that specific world is dry. You need to give yourself permission to have a little affair with a new idea.
But you shouldn't start writing another whole novel, right? That seems dangerous. You might never come back.
Ideally, no. You keep it small. A 4,000-word short story, or even microfiction, a 50-word story. The purpose here isn't to start a new magnum opus. It's to prove to yourself that you can finish something.
Oh, I see.
You get that little dopamine hit of typing the end,
Yeah.
and it restores your faith in your own creativity. And often, that energy allows you to go back to the main project with fresh eyes and a renewed sense of capability.
So it's a palate cleanser.
Exactly. A creative sorbet.
Okay, let's move to section 4. This is about the physical world, environmental and sensory shift. Because sometimes the block isn't in your head, it's actually in your room.
Our brains are powerful association machines. If you sit at the same desk, staring at the same wall, feeling stuck every single day, your brain eventually associates that desk with the feeling of being stuck.
So you sit down and your brain just automatically goes, this is the place where we feel miserable and unproductive.
It does. The context triggers the feeling.
Yeah.
So cure number 12, change your environment.
Go to a library. The source notes that being surrounded by books and the, quote, agony of other authors can be really inspiring.
You can. Or go to a park bench,
Yeah.
a cafe, anywhere but the usual spot.
And what if you can't leave the house, if you're stuck at home?
Then you simulate a power outage. It's a great tip from the source. You turn off the lights, light a candle, go sit in the bathtub, dry, I presume, or wet if you're brave, and write by candlelight.
I can't tell if that's genius or insane.
It just changes the sensory input completely. It forces you to focus because you can't see it, and it feels dramatic. It feels like you're a 19th century poet. It makes writing an event again.
The source also mentions changing your virtual environment, like changing your font. Does that actually work? It seems so minor.
It's a weirdly effective little hack. If you change your font size to be huge, like 24-point font, you feel incredibly productive because the pages are just flying by.
Right.
If you make it tiny, you stop rereading and judging yourself constantly because you can barely see the words.
Or changing the font style itself. Writing a horror scene in a jagged, chiller font probably feels different than writing it in a friendly, rounded color.
It puts you in the mood. Or just switch to pencil and paper. The tactile sensation is different. It slows you down. It connects your hand to your brain in a different neural pathway.
Now let's talk about sound. Cure number 14. Use music to set the mood. But there is a very specific technique meant. It's not just put on a good writing playlist.
No, the recommendation is much more specific. The recommendation is to loop a single song.
One song over and over and over again. That sounds like a form of torture.
It sounds annoying, but it works. The idea is you find one song that perfectly evokes the specific emotion of the scene you're writing. If it's a big action scene, maybe he's a pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
If it's a bittersweet goodbye, maybe it's Happy by Marina and the Diamonds, and you play that one song on repeat.
But why the loop? Why not a whole playlist of sad songs?
Because the loop induces a kind of trance state. If you have a playlist with different lyrics and tempos, your brain is constantly processing the change. Oh, I like this song. Oh, this one's a bit fast. With a loop, after a few minutes, the music just fades into the background and becomes an emotional texture. It holds you in that specific emotional space without distracting.
That actually makes a lot of sense. It's like a mantra for the mood.
Precise. And finally, for this section, cure number 15, refresh.
This is the classic step away from the vehicle.
It is. And it's based on a real phenomenon. We've all had that moment where the best idea we've had all week comes to us in the shower or right as we're about to fall asleep.
Yeah. Why does that happen? What is the science there?
It happens because the conscious analytical part of your brain finally relaxes. When you are staring at the screen, you are tense. Your executive function is trying to force a solution.
It's brute forcing it.
It is. But when you go for a run or you start cleaning the closet or you take a long shower, you disengage that part of your brain. And the default mode network, which is sort of the subconscious where all the creative connections happen, it can finally speak up.
So the advice is literally go wear yourself out. Go for a hike. Run. Clean your car.
Clear the slate. Let your brain idle, and it will often solve the problem for you.
Okay, we are in the home stretch here, section 5. Engaging with the world, or external inputs.
This is all about recognizing that you cannot create art in a vacuum. Stories are made of stuff. If you never put any new stuff in, you can't get anything out.
Cure number 10, research relevant topics. Now, the expert in the source calls this controlled procrastination.
It's a very fine line. We all know the danger of falling down a Wikipedia rabbit hole and waking up 3 hours later an expert on the history of Spoon, having written nothing.
Right.
But the method here is strict. Set a timer, 2 hours, let's say. You open all the tabs you need.
And then
you summarize the useful info into bullet points. You don't just read, process, you make it your own.
The example given in the source is really vivid. Let's say you have a character who is starving.
Right. Don't just guess what that feels like. Research the physical effects of starvation. Research the mental effects. Read personal accounts from people who've gone through it.
And you might find out that, say, starvation causes vivid hallucinations or a specific metallic taste in the mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you use that specific sensory detail to write the scene. Instead of just writing, he was really hungry, you write a scene where the character is having a detailed conversation with a roast chicken that isn't actually there. The research gives you the specific details that make the fiction feel real.
Cure number 16 is the broader, more philosophical version of this. Live life.
It sounds like a cliche from a coffee mug, but stories are inspired by reality. If you never leave your house, your creative well is going to run dry. You need new experience.
The source suggests some really specific activities. Go on a guided mushroom hike, take a carpentry class, go to a weird local art exhibit, volunteer somewhere.
It's all about gathering new sensory details. Go do something new. And then this is the crucial follow-up journal about it. Don't just have the experience. Write a free verse poem about the smell of sawdust in the carpentry class. Capture that sensory data so you can use it in your writing later.
And the last one in this section, cure number 8. Talk to other writers.
Writing is a solitary act, but problem solving doesn't have to be.
Why does talking help so much? Is it just venting about how hard it is?
Sometimes it is, and that's valuable. But often, the simple act of verbalizing your story problem forces you to organize your thought. You know how sometimes you start explaining a problem to a friend and halfway through you just say, oh, wait, never mind, I just figured out the answer.
The rubber ducking method. Coders do that. They explain their problem to a rubber duck on their desk.
It's the exact same thing. But a human critique partner can also ask the right question. Instead of asking, is this good? Which is a useless question that just invites praise or criticism.
You ask specific, targeted question.
Right. You ask, how can I make the protagonist more likable in this chapter? Or did the pacing feel slow in the middle part to you? That kind of collaboration leads to ideas and solutions you would never generate alone.
Okay, we have arrived at the final section. Section 6, the psychology of the block. This brings us right back full circle to the diagnosis we started with.
It does. And it starts with cure number 11, reflect. This is about sitting down and journaling about the writing problem, literally talking yourself through the stuck point on the page.
The source even suggests doing a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threat for your own writing.
It sounds a bit corporate, but it's so analytical and it works. Identify your strength. If you know you're good at writing quippy dialogue, but you're stuck on a descriptive passage, give yourself a break. Go write a dialogue-heavy scene to get the flow back.
Build on your strengths to create momentum.
Yes. And then challenge yourself later. Okay, and the next scene, I will focus on adding just one new sensory detail to each paragraph. It's about overwhelm management. You focus on one single aspect of the craft at a time. Don't try to be Shakespeare, Hemingway, and Tolkien all at once in a single sentence.
Right. And finally, we have to talk about the root of it all, especially for perfection paralysis, fear.
It all comes back to fear.
There's a powerful quote from Erica Jong here. All writing problems are psychological problems. Blocks usually stem from the fear of being judged.
That is the fundamental truth of it. We stop writing because we are imagining an audience laughing at it. We are imagining the bad reviews on Goodreads. We are imagining our mother reading the sex scene we just wrote.
So what is the ultimate solution to that?
Privacy. You have to grant yourself radical privacy. You must convince yourself with every fiber of your being that no one will ever see this first draft. It's for your eyes.
Like a secret.
Exactly. If you write as if it is a secret, the fear just disappears. You can always edit it later for public consumption, but the initial act of creation must be private and safe.
The way out of doubt is through it, one word after another.
One word after another, that's all it is.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We have 17 cures. We've got reading bad book, writing out of order, making crazy lists, writing by candlelight in the bathtub, listening to pirate music on it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a buffet. And the key takeaway has to be experimentation. Some of these cures will sound ridiculous to you. They'll be duds. They won't work.
But others might be magic.
It might be. You have to be willing to try them. Be a scientist in your own creative process.
And you have to remember that the block isn't some permanent state of being. It's not who you are. It's just a condition. And as we've seen, conditions have cures.
The most important thing's to simply keep writing, even if all you're writing is a list of 10 stupid ideas. Movement is the cure for stagnation.
So that is our challenge to you, the listener. As you've been listening, one of these probably resonated more than the others. Identify your go-to cure from this list. Are you a jigsaw puzzler? Are you a low bar reader? Are you a candlelight bathtub writer?
Find your tool.
Find your tool and go apply it right now. Go apply it to that project you've been avoiding.
Break the silence.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Now go write.
See you next time.